ingest. I mean, I think not a lot, but there's some things that he says that really make sense, because I get his blog. I doom scroll / read him every morning when he sends out that email that I'm not sure that he even writes. Somebody writes on his behalf, or maybe he writes some of them. And I mean, he says some things that make sense to me, but in terms of him suggesting things to take, I'm just wondering if he has that credibility anymore.
Well, I don't know what all I mean, I know from the book, kind of some of his things. I had questions about some things, and
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, to me, Martha, he's just so all over the map. I mean, there's enough truth in some things he says, and it's like, okay, this he's really onto something here, and I really need to focus on this. But then he might completely disavow it later, or he might say something that's completely inconsistent, and he doesn't put the pieces together, in my opinion. So now he's all about cellular health, which I think is great, but then some of the things that like he recommends eating white rice. I'm sorry, that makes no sense. With arsenic, are you kidding me? He puts rice bran in his vitamin supplements. Last time I checked, that was the grain. And why are you putting rice bran in your supplement?
So I can explain the rice bran.
You can, okay.
Yeah. So in the process of making capsules, you need something to help
a flow agent,
not to get sticky. And actually, rice bran is a very nutritious way to do that. So rice bran, in the root cause protocol, rice bran is actually one of the supplements that they recommend, because rice bran I think contains quite a bit amount of copper, bioavailable copper, and a number of other minerals. So that's my explanation for that is, and it's interesting to me, since the RCP has started having people focus on rice bran, and you used to be able to get organic rice bran on Amazon.
Right.
You can't find it anywhere.
Well, that's interesting.
So generally in my book, if something becomes nutritious and you can't find, or, part of somebody's telling people that something's nutritious and suddenly it becomes unavailable, that might be a good indicator that it actually is a pretty good thing.
Well, speaking of which, where is my starter agent, Martha? It's still sold out.
We were waiting on labels, and they are here this week, so we should have it by the end of the week.
Okay, because I've been holding on, but I'm starting the weekend.
I'm sorry.
I may have to cheat on you.
I do have an unopened jar in my refrigerator I could send you.
No, you promised to send me a new one, because I ran into that, like the jar I told you, it just like all solidified. And in fact, it got rock hard. I couldn't even use the rest of it. I had to throw it away. And I don't know why that happened, because I kept it in a dark cabinet. That's so
I don't know,
weird.
but I have some that I'm making right now that I made with the kind of hard stuff. I mean, like, it wasn't totally hard, but I had to mix it up with the milk pretty good.
Yeah. No, I couldn't even get a knife in it. Like a metal knife, which I found bizarre. It's like it turned into a little iceberg.
Yeah, it can get, and if depending on how much moisture it comes in contact. Somebody sent us one that had come in contact with quite a bit of moisture, and it was pretty solid too.
But I don't understand. But for me, it's like it was in a dark kitchen cabinet. There's no moisture in there, and the jar was on.
There's moisture every time you open that jar to do something. There is moisture.
Well, that's true. I guess you're right about that.
Jar, and it has moisture in it.
That's true. Well, I kept the sachets in there.
Well, so we also don't use any of the,
Dr-
you know,
The drying agents.
the cellulose, which helps, you know, which helps it stay dry. So
Yeah.
there's, because we'd had a lot of people ask us for a product without any of that. And so the starter culture is that product. And so, you know,
Yeah,
well,
I'm glad
also-
I'm glad that's not in there.
the antibiotic antidote also does not have any of that. And those capsules can sometimes get hard.
Oh, okay, I'm glad you told me that because I just ordered some. I just
Yeah.
ordered some antibiotic antidote and your new Perfect Peace.
I gotta
Mhm.
tell you, that's my new favorite.
Well, I ordered that and a third thing. I can't remember. I think Ideal Immune, maybe Sugar Shift. I can't. I ordered 3 things from you.
I know, I did see you in there. I was like, oh, there's Karen. But yeah, the Perfect Peace. Actually, Charlie posted the day before Perfect Peace and then the next day, and it was pretty remarkable on his tracker. But for me, I mean, I could tell one day last week when I first got it, like it was a really busy, stressful, and as the day was going on, the stress was building.
Mm-hmm.
I took a capsule and it was like not even 30 minutes. I was like, wow.
And you were on a natural high.
I'm just feeling pretty chill. So now I've been taking it before I go to my yoga.
I thought yoga was supposed to do that.
It is, but then it just makes me super zen. Okay, so our book, Karen's not happy with Dr. Mercola.
No, I'm not.
And I have to say it's a dramatic swing from reading Ben's book to coming over here. But one of the things that I found interesting about it was the overlap with the Glucose 101 protocol and the concepts that Dr. Stevens talks about. So, Chris, did you read it? I don't know. Maybe she can't hear me.
I think she's muted, Martha.
Well, she doesn't sound like she's even hearing me. Chris,
No,
can you hear me? You're muted. See if you're mute, but there you go.
There we go. Okay, I just tuned in. Thank you.
I was just wondering if you read the book and you saw the overlap with Dr. Stevens' work or Maha.
Well, I did. I didn't read the book. I read a lot about the book because I knew there would be things that were overlapping about it. It was a big read to take on at this point in time, but I'm curious to see, especially for Maha. Pardon, did you read it?
I see Paula has it there. Maha didn't read it either.
Okay.
No,
But-
but I was interested because of the overlap. It's just like you said, Chris, it was a big bite to take on before tonight. So I'm here. I'd love to hear for those who read it.
I had some questions.
Yeah.
I had some questions about. So one thing was
I
about
read it.
avocados not being a healthy, or avocado
I
oil
read
not
the
being
book.
healthy.
Is it about the book or are we talking
Yeah.
avocado now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The book. All right.
He says in the book that avocado oil is not healthy.
Correct. And so
No,
that,
he doesn't. He doesn't say that.
that's exactly
He
what he
says
says.
he says everything in moderation is okay, including olive oil. So he's
He
again,
said healthy oils like olive and
No,
avocado
avocado
oil will
oil.
harm your health if eaten in excess.
In
right,
excess.
exactly. This is what I'm saying.
I don't
He's
think
not
there's an
saying-
excess for oils, though.
Yeah, you can. Definitely you can. If you follow Gumtree, he's drinking olive oil from the morning to the evening. So this
I
is
don't
what
follow
he's saying. Basically, he's not saying not to use it. He says not to cook with it and to sprinkle on salads and don't overdo it. So this is his big thing right now. And I do follow him daily. So I think he's very smart. And I appreciate people that change their minds. And when they see that something is not working, they don't continue on this path. They discover something new, and everything that says in the book that is on the book has a lot of references. So there is a lot of research behind everything that he says. And it's a new thing. I mean, new research as well. So I agree with him with most of the part. I don't have person that I agree 100% with, but I like the book a lot. The book is fabulous. It has to be written, and I really say you should read it because it's kind of tilted from the ketogenic way of living that was so, it still is kind of mainstream. So he's trying new things, and he tried on himself first. Everything that he does, he tries on himself first to see how it works. And it's based on, like I said, on research, which I appreciated as well, and experience. Sometimes you cannot do blind trials on stuff, especially when you eat something. But an experience, and the big thing for me is the sugar, the amount of sugar that he recommends. And I disagree with both Davis and Mercola as well. I don't see myself eating 15 grams of sugar. I never measure it, but I don't see I'll do it ever. And but I never measured what is 200, 300 grams of sugar per day either. So maybe this is a lot. I know that I went back to fruits, and since I did this, my blood sugar dropped actually instead of increasing. And I went back to white rice. This one I want to talk to you, Martha. You're recommending the brown. He's recommending the white. From the point of view of arsenic, probably
I think there's more arsenic, I think, in brown rice, isn't there?
Yes, this is what it is. So that's why he recommends to eat white rice, and it's easier on the stomach, on the gut as well. And he recommends it to wash it a couple of times, so the amount of arsenic is really dropping when you do this. And what else is there are a lot of things that he says that are interesting and that I haven't tried about the supplementation, for example. Again, Martha, if you have an opinion about do we need to take vitamin D with K together so they will kind of absorb better for the bones, or is this a fake news? I don't know.
Well,
That's been around for a while.
I am a contrarian when it comes to taking vitamin D as a supplement by itself. So I take cod liver oil, which has all the fat soluble vitamins.
I do too.
not take them as individual vitamins, and there is
What about krill oil?
Research related to vitamin D and iron dysregulation. And I think part of the issue with our problem with vitamin D is that I actually just wrote a Substack on this. Excess phosphate, because they use phosphate fertilizers. Phosphate disrupts the vitamin D conversion to the active form in the gut. So, you could be taking all kinds of synthetic vitamin D and raising your storage D, but that doesn't tell you anything about whether or not you have active vitamin D.
Exactly.
Measurement, it's about $100 for the test, and nobody's testing it.
Right. Well, the best way, of course, is to go on the sun, but when it's not available, we have to take some vitamin D. But you are saying, what about krill oil? At the moment, excuse me?
Hey, I'm going to mute you, Debbie.
Okay.
There's somebody in the background.
What are you thinking about krill oil? I started taking because of the astaxanthin that is into it. Krill oil?
Yeah, I did look at krill oil a while back. I think there's similarities to the profile in the DHA, EPA in that. And aren't they a smaller fish?
Yeah.
So, there's probably less toxin load in a krill.
Right.
Cod or, they're not big fish either. Where you start getting in the, the mercury and that type of burden is more in the larger fish, like a halibut.
It's like you're eating shellfish, isn't it?
It's what?
Like you're eating shellfish or something, is it? When you have krill oil?
I said it's a shellfish. I haven't actually really looked at it to see.
Okay. So what is your opinion about the amount of carbs from fruits and rice? And I'm gonna try the oats. Thanks for recommending the brand. I'm gonna try to do. Have you tried the oats? What do you think?
I've done the oats recently, but when I was doing the oats with Jon, because they have beta glucans that are very important for the glycocalyx, your membranes, cell membranes. But when I get Bob's Red Mill organic steel cut oats, I keep them in the freezer when I'm not using them, because when they're out on the counter, there's something about the gluten production. I don't know what it is, and when I am going to have oats, I actually soak them overnight with a capsule of sugar shift. That there's any, glyphosate residue or anything like that, I just open a capsule of sugar shift, stir it up with some, some of my RO water. And then, plus I figure it's probably helping to break it down too, and, little pre-digest it a little bit.
Right.
But the carbs. Right. So, I found the discussion really interesting again, because, I've been working on this blog post about Ben Azadi's gut microbiome after 90 days of carnivore, but even starting before the carnivore, he had no bifidobacteria. And, I know how important bifidobacteria is, and I know he's been, pretty heavy keto, and, the metabolic flexing and all of that is still really only 2 days a week carbs. And you're just not getting enough fiber for the microbes, I think. And I guess I'm back to sort of thinking about the seasonality of food. And this is the season when we have all these fresh fruits and vegetables available. And, you know, we eat watermelon, and, you know, I had a cantaloupe today that came out of my garden, and,
Oh,
Yummy.
you know, and I have green beans and, you know, green beans and tomatoes and potatoes that I'm eating from my garden. And so, but, and his explanation of kind of resetting the system and stuff really went, you know, took me back to the Dr. Stevens stuff. But I don't know if anybody noticed where he was talking about that reset process. And he said something about you could put a half a pound of dextrose in a liter of water and drink it all day long. And I was like, my God, that sounds insane. A half a pound?
Who said that?
It's in this book. I got
Really?
I wrote exclamation.
Yeah, that was like bat poop crazy to me, Martha.
So that to me was a little wacky. But, and then he did say he gained 5 pounds, but it was muscle. And I do. So
If you see him, he doesn't gain any weight. It's not about the weight. Yeah.
a half a pound, Maha, a half a pound.
Yeah. He's so skinny.
But, you know, I have been looking at in Parkinson's the loss of energy. And, you know, I'm still thinking about Dr. Stevens stuff because the red blood cells only use glucose. They only use glucose for energy.
This is what he says too. Yeah.
And so if you don't, and ketosis and a ketogenic diet does produce glucose, but it doesn't, it's a very complex, many-stepped process. And I just feel like running a backup system all the time to get the glucose your brain needs is probably not ideal. And I'm also, I think I mentioned to you guys that I finally ordered the Minnesota starvation study.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Um,
Actually, Martha just wrote that she's amazed of dextrose. I wonder what she wants to say about that.
I don't know. She's typing. She's not talking tonight. So,
Okay.
but
are
you
you
know,
speaking of?
so it's a 2-volume set, and it's pretty shocking. And as I kind of think about where we are as a society and with our food system, I think that even those of us that are overweight or have a little extra poundage, it's probably more likely that we are nutrient deprived and we are eating because our body is not getting the nutrients it needs. And okay, Maha, you want to?
No, I wanted to share about my continued experience with the dextrose. First of all, for me, it has been really difficult to wrap my mind around ingesting sugar. So said differently, when I was doing keto and low carb, it worked perfectly well with what I wanted to believe. When I tried dextrose, it was utterly disturbing to me to have that experience. But what I also find is that my mind works much better. I mean, not only are my blood results better, I'm talking of lipid panel, A1C, the whole kit and caboodle. Not only it is better, not only my neurological conditions, such as my voice. Normally, my voice would be trembling if I could leave speaking to you. But it's starting to come back. Now, out of the discomfort, and I would say the demonization of sugar by society, where Dr. Stevens makes it very clear that there's different kinds of sugar, some that are poisonous to the system and some that are actually helpful. So the dextrose is very pure in that. And what out of the belief system that was completely triggered, I tried at least 5 times to quit it. But each time I did, and once it was for 2 weeks, another time it was for a week, those were the longest times. Each single time, my Oura Ring tracker was reporting excessive amount of stress, which I used to have. Also, the amount of deep sleep. Like when I was on a low-carb diet, I would go to pee every night, about 5 times a night. I would wake up 5 times, go to pee. Sometimes it would take me an hour to go back to sleep. Sometimes I wouldn't go back to sleep at all. Now with the glucose, I came to what my sustaining dose is. So I know what I need for my body to ideally function. And I don't take half a pound. Some people do. I don't, because I don't have something huge. And I'm still playing with being comfortable. But the quality of my sleep is day and night. I sleep so well. I generally wake up once, go back to sleep immediately. I am able to stay stress-free or almost stress-free throughout the day. It's made a huge difference.
Can you share it, how you take it? Do you mix the dextrose, how much with water? Or
Yeah,
something?
what is your sustaining dose,
Yeah.
Mahala?
Well,
Mahalene.
what Dr. Stevens recommends, and I lead a Facebook group and also a Zoom meeting every other week. So you just put your name if you'd like me to invite you. And I trust that's okay, Martha, to do that. So anyway, what he recommends is to start with 3 tablespoons per day of dextrose, non-GMO dextrose. What I am also finding is that he is really rethinking his procedures to where he is respecting, like for example, I don't do 3 tablespoons 3 times a day. I do 3 tablespoons, well, 5 tablespoons a day, maybe 6 on exceptional days. So the way he thinks it is 3 tablespoons 3 times a day to start, and then to add half a tablespoon each week to each dose. And then to look at whether or not you're gaining weight. If you gain weight, step back and take less dextrose. And so I've seen him becoming milder in his approach, so that there is more success with it than just this is the way it is, this is what you do. But I can't, for me, it's made too much a difference in my mental health and in my sleep and in my stress levels.
So do you put it in water and you drink it? No?
I put it with my yogurt. OMG. I put it with my yogurt with some salted caramel collagen from Paleo Valley. So I have 2 tablespoons there, and it's just ecstatically good. I put it in my tea. I put it in my hot chocolate during the winter. I put it in my fermented juice. So Dr. Davis would be horrified. I continue to ferment my juice with the sugar, with the Restore probiotic, and I continue doing yogurt every day and consuming them every day. But both the sucker, I forgot how we said that, the Boulardi.
Yeah.
Bloody, yeah.
Yeah, that one. And the yogurt, I add the dextrose to it. And it's out of this world good.
Wow, I'm going to try this.
It will change your life.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Sounds like it. Yeah, this is.
I know that Chris and your husband, I know the 2 of you didn't have a good experience. And what I wonder is if it would have made a difference to do it slowly until you come to knowing, like I did, what I need and what is in excess of what I need, because I really don't consume the high doses that I had understood I was to take at first.
Yeah. I do think
a
that
stupid question. What is dextrose? Where is it coming from?
It's the name of glucose. I mean, dextrose and glucose are essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
It's
Dextrose
a
turns-
monosaccharide that is very rapidly absorbed into the blood, into the brain and the blood.
Uh-huh.
So it
Is this sugar or not?
it's a sugar, but it does not feed the SIBO bacteria so much.
So if I buy it as dextrose.
Yes.
So?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Never seen it. All right.
And you have to make sure it's
for
non-GMO.
non-GMO.
Paula.
Exactly.
You have to make sure it's non-GMO.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
well, at the time that I read the book and was finding out about this, he was recommending much larger doses. And I did follow, I just follow directions. I try to do it the way something's laid out. And I do think that he has a different response now to, he's improving his protocol. And I think that Ladd and I, my husband and I, are sort of the fallout from that process of improving the protocol for people, because it was too much. It was, and we were and the deciding factor for me was we both did we were making a decision. My husband actually just quit doing it 2 weeks before I did. It's like, okay, that's over. I'm not doing that anymore. And, and I kept with it. And then at two more weeks after he quit, I thought, we'll both do blood work. And so, I've got a lab where I can write for glucose, fasting glucose, A1C, and we didn't do insulin, but And his had gone up from very moderate numbers, which those were his baseline numbers. My numbers are on the edge of being pre-diabetic, and I went right into pre-diabetic and with the A1C, and my glucose, my fasting glucose went up 10 points. So that's where I made a decision to let it go. And I'm not sure that it was the right decision, Maha. I think it was the right decision for that moment. And it took us both a while to kind of come back to our baseline on things. But that's
Well-
just where we were with it. I'm not sure about it, but I'm sure of the decision we made for the time. And my husband makes his own decisions, right? And he had a strong feeling about it, and that's all,
Yes.
that's makes sense.
Well-
He actually had more of a feeling about it than I did. So that means something. I think we do have responses to things that we can't always put into words, but it was sort of like enough.
Yeah.
So, but I am thrilled, Maha, to hear that this is continuing to work for you. And what month are you on? I think that we were on 3 months plus.
I started in December, like end of December, is when, Martha, you first mentioned it. The one part that I see and that I am certain of, having worn blood glucose monitor and having experienced eating at the exact same time, the exact same quantity of dextrose and of food, and when upset, my blood glucose shoot into the 250, whereas normally mixing it with food, it would not go above 140. So what I am saying, Chris, and I am totally certain of it, and I believe it is the basis of a lot of medical studies. It's called the placebo effect. Said differently, I am still working on changing my perception that the sugar is going to hurt me. When I do attach to the belief that it will hurt me, that's called nocebo effect. And everything reflects that.
Yeah.
My blood test, my mood, what I feel is the results of my beliefs.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah.
we are brainwashed that sugar is bad. And there's goodness in that, because the sugar we feed ourselves are bad. But this sugar, I can be like stress and take it, and within minutes, it balances me out. It's absolutely astounding how it goes directly into the brain. It's not like when you eat fruits, where it goes, it first needs to digest, and then, and Martha can explain all of that better. But I do experience it working with my brain. And my issues are first and most of all neurological. So for that reason, I am not giving up on it. And
What about your gut? Have you noticed something bad happening to your gut when you started this?
better?
No.
It works better.
Better.
Like my bowel movements are more regular.
Wow.
Each time I eat, I poop, which to me, that's ideal. If I skip the dextrose, I'm not as regular.
And I have the same problem like you mentioned because of the low sugar, probably peeing. When I started the program with Dr. Davis, I started peeing at night, which was very unusual for me. I never did it before. So this is very encouraging for me to start trying the dextrose. I hope
So-
I have the same effect like you did.
One of the I think this was a podcast I did with a nutritionist, and I was talking about, people getting up in the middle of the night. And that's actually can often be a drop in your blood sugar that is triggering your body to wake you up.
Gotcha.
And then you go to the bathroom. And she actually said she has clients who get hypoglycemic at night, and
Well-
she had them start taking, I can't remember what, it might have been dextrose, but it was some kind of a small sip of orange juice or something before they went to bed. And then they wouldn't wake up at all because it was just enough to keep them from dropping down into that hypoglycemic state that then puts your body and brain on alert and says, oh, you got to get up. And I mean, I know that like this whole thing is very counterintuitive, and I'm still, wrapping my head around it, but I think, some of what Maha said, I would apply that to almost any food. We're in this society now with all these rules, and part of the problem is not the foods themselves, but how we've grown them and the chemicals that they're swimming in.
Exactly.
We're swimming in this chemical soup, and and I know we have talked about the bread before, and there's all kinds of problems with what we've done with growing our grains and stuff. But Dr. Ben Edwards, who I follow, and another friend of mine has joined I think it's called Bread Beckers, because the lady's name is Becker. And, she grinds her wheat fresh to make her bread or pink or whatever they're making. But, when you're grinding the whole grain, you're getting all those nutrients. It's a very different thing than, what we have from getting things on the shelf. But, we're kind of terrorized by what we've put into our food, and then by all these different diet plans that are sort of terrorizing us. I mean, you've said this before, Karen. It's like, oh, what is it now? And how much of that affects the state of stress just because we ate something. We went out to dinner with friends somewhere, and we had something that had wheat in it or whatever, and set up in our own mind, how damaging it's going to be to us. I mean, I'm not saying they're not damaging, but I am saying that our mental state can exacerbate these things.
Yeah. And you know what, Martha, right now, there's some movement that some bread makers are using only flour from, I don't know, some flour from Italy, and they make the bread, and you have to eat it this day and then throw it away. Like you said, probably the freshness also matters. And the real bread actually tends to go bad if it stays more than a day in Europe. Either it's becoming like a stick or it's rotten. I mean, real bread doesn't stay 7 weeks without anything happening to it.
Yeah, that's so. Anyway, I'm in the book, and I'm on the what?
Go ahead. That's okay.
Oh, I had my hand raised, Martha. Can I?
Yep.
Just, I just Just ironically, I happen to be reading a news article about seed oils, which Dr. Mercola also rallies against. And so to Dr. Davis, not as much, but
Right.
I do believe that seed oils are problematic, and I try to stay away from them whenever possible. But this article was focused on one of the top lobbyists for the seed oil industry. There's an association of these growers, canola, soy, grapeseed, et cetera. And he was complaining about how hard his job has become since Robert Kennedy has been installed as the health secretary, because now all these people are questioning, well, what kind of oil is this and where did it come from? And he kept talking about, there's no science that shows that these oils are unhealthy. In fact, they are healthy as long as you eat them in the right way. And never once in his little, missive about how hard it's been for him while he's making millions of dollars, never once did he mention the ways in which these oils are processed, which is hugely problematic. Hexane, all kind, GMOs. I mean, soy is the most heavily processed food on the planet. So if you're getting soy oil, it's pretty hard to get, even if it's non-GMO, it's still screwed up with the way that it's made. And the same thing with sunflower oil and safflower and corn oil and canola and just straight up vegetable oil. Not once did he mention the processing. And I'm like, you might want to get around to that, dude, while you're making millions of dollars. Talk to me about how that's safe. Talk to me about the virtue of hexane. That I would like to hear.
Well, I mean, if we just think back 100 years ago, people didn't have pantries full of jars of oil. There were no jars of oil. Like, what kind of jar, except for olive oil, cold pressed olive oil. There were no other jars of oil. I mean, can you think of one? Anybody?
Well, I'm thinking of the Bible and how in the Bible there's a lot about oils and anointing and using oil in a therapeutic orientation. So there must have been some oil besides olive.
Oh, there was frankincense and myrrh and all kinds of other oils. But I know, like for me, I often tell the story to my friends, but when I was growing up, we couldn't afford, I aspired to Crisco. We couldn't afford Crisco. So my mother cooked with snow-capped lard, which didn't even cost $1 for a big pack. And unknowingly, she was sending, she was helping us on the path to help with just that lard. And when we cooked bacon, we would take the grease and pour it into it.
We always had a can on the stove.
Right.
Fat. Yeah.
And then we would dispose of the can. But this, this idea of keeping, when I was growing up, we didn't have bottles of oil. We had lard. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was back sort of looking at the carbohydrate in his discussion of the carbohydrates, because like for me, because I was working on this microbiome analysis of the ketogenic or the carnivore diet and really looking at what that's doing, because you're shifting the ecosystem to one of fermentation of protein and fats. And I am a big believer in the ketogenic diet and how it helps people with epilepsy. And, there's a lot of benefits to it. But I think in part it is because the carbohydrate metabolism is not working properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lack of understanding about how to solve that problem. I don't know that if this is the way to solve that problem, but the simplicity of the digestion of the dextrose and the white rice which I know like people are like, that spikes my sugar. I mean, I know when I was on it, what I can say is when I was on the ketogenic diet and I went out for Thai food and had rice, my mind was blown how much my blood sugar spiked. But I hadn't been measuring blood sugar before when I was eating more carbohydrates. So then now that I'm kind of going through this, I'm wondering, okay, like, was I adapted in a way before that I'm not adapted now? I don't know. And I am here to say that I think there is still much to be learned about this, but for me, I think it's the fiber. So like dextrose doesn't have any fiber. And I think a big part of the issue with carbohydrates is people who have SIBO. So if they haven't dealt with the problems in the small bowel, and then you start throwing fiber in there, you're getting all these other problems. So you've got to deal with the SIBO problem before you can start putting fiber in there. But the gut microbes, and there's ample evidence in the microbiome research that a diverse diet, the more plant material, the more colors, the more fiber, the healthier the gut is.
Right.
And, I see markers in that microbiome data that Ben sent me that concern me. So, I feel like, okay, you ought to at least either be taking, some kind of fiber supplement, or if you've got SIBO, dealing with SIBO, and then, getting more fiber into your diet. And so, this level 1 is the dextrose and glucose. Level 2 was the rice. But he makes a comment because he says choose organic versions that are low in arsenic, but it doesn't tell how to find that. And then, he talks.
Actually, he says the Indian rice and the what was the other one?
Well, anyway, right here he doesn't. But
yeah.
So then I wondered. I mean, I have no idea, but since I soak my oats in Sugar Shift, I was like, well, I wonder if soaking the rice in the Sugar Shift, if the microbes would, help convert, help change how you digest it. I don't know. So that's an experiment I want to do. And then he moves to sucrose and table sugar. And this is where I struggle a bit, because that's got a lot of fructose in it. But I also started thinking about, Ben takes Sugar Shift, but there was no sign of any evidence of what Sugar Shift was doing for him. And I'm thinking, okay, he's on a pretty tight ketogenic diet. He doesn't eat a lot of carbs. Like, there's nothing for those microbes to eat. So then that sort of made me wonder, okay, maybe that explains, like, some people who say, well, I don't feel any, maybe they're on such a tight ketogenic diet that there's no food for the microbes.
Yeah.
So then he moves to maple syrup, which I like maple syrup, but I don't know if I have any anymore. But and the thing I like about maple syrup is that it's nutrient dense. So, maple syrup has all the minerals in it.
And honey is good.
Well, Martha, I love what you're saying about the fiber. I also feel that it's like so important. And having been carnivore for 2.5 years, there is no way I would do again without fiber. the part that I wanted to add to this discussion, and I'm pretty impressed by Dr. Marcola's book title.
What?
The title of Dr. Mercola's book,
Oh, his book. Yeah.
involves joy.
Yeah.
And whether it is because of my regular consumption of dextrose, which I am now giving myself permission to end with the mindset of dieting. And I'm finding that it's easier and easier for me to be joyous. So, I don't negotiate my probiotic, my yogurt, my fermented juices, the dextrose. That's part of my basis. But I marvel at how I can eat and still be joyful. Because my experience prior to now was to be guilty, regardless whether I overate or not. It's like I couldn't give me food. And now everything changed so that when I am with food, it's become a divine blessing. And when I bless my food, I know that the energy of love and joy is going into it. And to me, that's the most amazing thing I could ever experience, is to be joyous after I ate. And out of that, I'm finding that my entitlement with food is shifting. Like I don't need it in the same way than I used to. So I have the thought that maybe not having sweets goes against the anatomy of who we are, because there are 6 tastes. If we do without umami, we're not complete. But could it be that we have done for too long? I know I'm speaking for me. Could I have been for too long without sweet? And I have something missing in the balance of my system, because I tried to take a taste out, and I believe it's in Ayurveda that tastes are so important. So anyway, those are thoughts. But yes, I think that joy is essential as part of the diet. So just my 2 pence worth here.
Chris?
Yeah, that brings something to mind, Maha. In my nutrition training, one of the tests that we learned was called the neuro-linguistic test. And let's see, yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's right. I'll look that up after we're done. But here's the essence of the test. That it's based on, ultimately what you can do is do a taste test with a supplement. And if you, you could muscle test, that was not the way I was trained, but you could muscle test that to see if that was appreciated by your body or not. But there is such a quick connection between the mouth and the brain. And when the brain gets a signal that something is sweet, it moves toward it. And the example that we learned was like when a dog or a domestic animal or a wild animal, when they come upon some food, like picture a giraffe eating leaves out of a tree, a pie, they go cautiously and taste, and then they get a signal to go closer or go toward or to move away. And the factor that they're registering is the sweetness, even though, of course, it's unconscious in an animal, and it's even unconscious in the testing that we do for that. But there is something about that sweetness that is, I think, built into our evolution that is linked to survival. So I don't know where we'll put that, but it seemed relevant.
I have a customer that I talk to on occasion, and he was mentioning mineral. So I can't remember the name of the company, but there was a company where you could get these little, it was like a testing kit of minerals. And
yes, BioBody.
Yeah. And I think they've been out of them, but that you basically put a little bit on your tongue and it will tell you, like, if it tastes good, probably sweet, then you need that mineral. If it doesn't, then you don't. And so that makes sense to me. I think Debbie's got her hand up too. You'll have to unmute.
Awesome.
Oh, I just wanted to talk about, on the protein, he talks about not eating pork or chicken. And so I've always been of the, because they're non-ruminant proteins. And so I've always been of the mindset, variety is great because you get all different kinds of, various nutrients, minerals, and things like that. And after Jen talked about, the highest protein content was in beef, I found out that bison was actually better. Like ground bison that you can get at Costco is like better than beef. Anyway, so I just wondered if you guys had thought about that, about not eating pork and chicken because they were non-ruminant proteins.
Actually, Debbie, let me just jump in real quick. The highest protein per serving was turkey.
Yeah, turkey is the best.
So not beef. I was surprised because I was expecting it to be beef. So just wanted to clarify that.
But well, I had looked something up and it said that bison was higher than beef and turkey was lower. So
I was just looking on Chronometer and going, equivalent serving sizes. Yeah, I didn't look at bison. I know it's leaner, so maybe you get more protein per serving than beef.
Well, he said that the problem is actually because those animals has been fed by corn and soy. I mean, the pigs and the chickens.
It goes back before that, because if you go back into both the Hebrew and the Muslim faith do not eat those animals.
Oh, well,
so they're considered unclean. Mahal might tell us more about that, but for me personally, I grew up eating a lot of pork, but I don't eat a lot of pork anymore, and I don't eat pork in large part because I know how they are grown.
Yeah.
And
Europe.
grown and engineered and like all, but I will tell you in the RCP, the mineral profile of pork is, I think, somewhat better, according to Morley, but for the most part, I don't eat much pork anymore. And what was the other one?
The chicken. I think the
And
chicken is the worst.
I don't, it's interesting. I don't eat I don't actually eat as much meat as
Oh,
we were eating, I'll say 10 years ago when I lived in my big multi-million-dollar house and I could shop at the fancy grocery store and, buy steaks that were $25 a pound and, never bad at that. We ate a lot of meat, all kinds of meat.
I eat
And
a
now
lot of meat.
I
My-
eat more. I eat beef and bison and
and elk.
no, I don't really have
No.
meat, but I do have I do have a little bit of elk left from my son-in-law, but I occasionally eat chicken, and there is
What
a
about lamb? Don't you eat lamb?
I
I
eat
eat
lamb.
a lot of lamb.
I eat lamb, and there's a local farmer here that is all pasture raised pork, and so when he's at the farmer's market, I do get pork from him. But
So the pork, all the food that I get out in Wyoming is all pasture raised, grass fed, grass finished. It's the chicken, the pork, everything is. So my question was actually, if you have high quality foods, isn't it better to have the assortment to get the more of a variety of the nutrients?
Yeah, and I would also, I think I'd like to be able to make an assumption that in this group, we are sourcing our meats to the, highest quality that we all know, because we all know a whole lot about food and farming practices. Because it's two different foods. Pork, commercially, like CAFO pork is hideous. CAFO anything is. But pasture pork from, I know some farmers that they're just so passionate and they raise the most amazing pork I've ever had. And it's just a different food.
Yeah.
And there's no part of me that understands that it's an inferior protein source. It's just so different and amazing.
It's the most delicious meat, honestly.
I-
If it's young,
I have to agree with you,
we
Paula.
like babies. I'm sorry.
so
Yeah.
I have a question. I don't know. I know Paula read the book. Maybe nobody else did, but he talks in here about the body temperature, and this is something that to me is incredibly interesting and also I think informative in a way that I did not realize. So last year over the summer, I connected with a researcher who was looking at carbon monoxide and Parkinson's. And I don't remember all the papers I read about it that he sent me, but one of the things he asked me to do was, so both John and I measured our temperature at 3 spots, so on each side and in the center, multiple times throughout the day. And throughout that, I mean, I have a notebook of probably a month or two's worth of data, not every day, but a lot. And John's body temperature was anywhere between 2 to 3 degrees below mine. And, Dr. Mercola is basically saying a low body temperature is an indication that you're not producing energy. You're not, the fuel is not burning, the fire is not burning. And you also need body temperature, above a certain level to keep the pathogen low. So I'm just wondering, Maha, maybe next time you can let us know if you take your temperature and you tell us you have a better body temperature now than you did before. So,
yeah, perfect. I will do so. Just a quick thing. Love the haircut.
oh, thanks.
See you again. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, Michael.
So I think that is an interesting exercise to do. You know, if any of you guys have a thermometer, is to do the temperature test that he talks about. And if you didn't read the book, you won't know what he's talking about. But he says, let me find it. But he says to take your temperature when you get up in the morning. And
3
like,
times, I believe, per day, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. I read it a couple of months ago. But haven't you noticed, Martha, when you eat something sweet, you're hot after this? I'm kind of,
yeah. I mean, you could definitely tell the difference in like energy burning.
yeah, definitely.
I'm looking for it, but I have so many notes I wrote all over this book.
Yeah,
So
me
what were the notes that you said that you had written that he had wrong or that he had gotten wrong?
Oh. Well, I mean, okay, let's see.
How can you tell what is wrong?
Well, you know, I won't probably be. Well, acromantia. I would never, ever, ever recommend somebody take acromantia
Yeah.
without really deeply understanding what's going on in their gut. Because acromantia overgrows and will eat your gut lining if you don't have a healthy gut. So this obsession with acromantia being great for your gut, it's elevated in Parkinson's, it's elevated in MS, it's elevated in some other chronic neurological problem. So I say no to that.
So if a person takes a GI map though, and they have no detectable sign of acromantia, then do you suggest they take it?
I wouldn't.
That is too simple of a question. You'd have to know like what the whole gut looks like, what the gut ecosystem looks like. Are there mucin producer, you know, is there mucin production or not? It's not a simple yes or no, the bug, you know, and just because it's not in your stool sample doesn't mean it's not in the mucosa.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say too. Once, like, you could take efforts to start feeding it and then see.
Martha, what do you think about the choline? Because I'm also always about inflammation.
Well, I mean, like phosphatidylcholine is important to your cell membrane. So let's see.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for what I disagreed with him. Well, you know, I have a disagreement on vitamin D. So I will not take a separate vitamin D supplement.
Meaning you will not take vitamin D at all?
Not by itself.
You mean in a combo with K?
Not with that either. I take cod liver oil. It has all the fat soluble.
Okay, yeah, the cod liver oil.
So it's basically in a food matrix.
Right.
Let's see what else. I'm trying to find what else I disagreed with.
Go ahead, Martha. Martha, I'll just add something that I found. What I was looking for, the name of it is the LNT, the lingual neural test. Just a second. And it's a technique used to assess how the body responds to different substances placed on the tongue, often to understand how various foods or nutrients affect an individual's neurological responses and overall health. And so you can, if you're interested in it, it's a very interesting thing, especially as it's connected to this idea of sweet being, in nature, things are sweet that we tend to need. That's what this is all based on. And so anyways, I had
think that, like, basically, you know, for the last 75 years,
right,
that mechanism has been bastardized to us to eat things. Oh, I got 2 hands up. To overfeed us things that are not good for us.
Right.
So the understanding of the connection between the sweetness of flavor and what's good for us, and that has somehow gotten uncoupled and
Absolutely.
inappropriately registered, and maybe this dextrose exercise resets that. So in other things, it's not so much that I disagree with him, and that is that I think he didn't emphasize enough. He does talk about glyphosate on the whole grains and stuff, but I don't think that he has emphasized enough throughout the discussion of foods the importance of understanding, how they were processed, or
Yeah.
how the, because people read the simple thing and says, "Oh, eat whole grains," and it needs to be just repeated over and over and over again. Make sure your oatmeal is not dried down with glyphosate.
Yeah.
So, and for beans and legumes, he didn't talk about it there. The whole profile of all the beans and legumes are where a lot of the glyphosate is used to dry down at the end of harvest. So, I would avoid them altogether unless I was absolutely certain they hadn't been dried down, although they're great for protein. So it's,
Yeah.
I did like his recommendation for the Instant Pot and, pressure cooking to help the digestive process. But let's see, Jen's got her hand up, and then Mary's got her hand up. Jen?
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Yep. Thank you. Let's see, my hand, I wanted to just go back and comment on the body temperature observation that I made during our 30 days during the reset. The Aura Ring is actually quite accurate in measuring body temperature. It's, part of its algorithm, as you know, for everything. And I had a significant drop in body temperature as the challenge went on, which, indicates a lowering of just overall
Your metabolic
metabolism.
rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, respiratory rate reduced. And now one thing I've learned since then is that Aura's, not their algorithms, but their sort of interpretations of data favors this lowering of, like, getting into that parasympathetic state. So it favors that over just about everything. And so in reading their results, it looks like you're in a healthier overall state, being more parasympathetic, but it's like an artificial it's not a superior, like, vagal tone. It's a reduced tone overall. It's reduced energy. It's caloric restriction.
Right.
So just wanted to, if anyone's doing Aura and saw like their data going through the roof, it's not. And I like it took me a while to understand this, because things were moving that I had been trying to move naturally for like over a year. And then it happened fast with caloric restriction during this, increasingly shorter eating window. So anyway, and so body temperature was one of them. Just wanted to point that out. That's all.
Okay, Mary's got her hand up.
So, can you hear me? Is it on?
Yep.
Okay. I haven't read the book. I didn't see the post that you had there, and I've missed the last meeting. So, but
Yep.
so you recommend the book? Is it something I should?
I do recommend the book. I have learned a lot from it, and I have things I still want to think about from it. But and even in doing the 30-day reset, like looking at the amount of protein that they wanted you to eat, like I cannot eat that much protein. And since I'm reading the Biology of Human Starvation, like, I think maybe I need to eat more carbohydrates. Like maybe I'm not getting enough nutrition. And so I think about like Terry Wall's diet, which is very nutrient dense. It's got plenty of protein, but it's a lot of vegetables.
But
It
which
is.
one? She has a carnivore diet now. I've heard her talking about her carnivore diet. I mean, I got started with Terry Wells, I don't know, 15 years ago, and it was all practically plant-based. She wanted you to eat 10 cups of greens a day. But
I mean, she's still pretty, so to me, after seeing Ben's gut and that, like, I understand, I've dug into trying to figure out what's going on here is, you're essentially taking away anything fermentable from those SIBO bacteria. So you're getting the endotoxin lowered and you feel better because you don't have the same inflammation.
right.
But it doesn't mean you're healthier in the long term. If that's all I can say. I think it is beneficial. It's a beneficial healing step in the process, just like the GAPS diet can be a beneficial healing step, but it's not getting you all the way back to a healed body that can uptake nutrients and digest, complex fibers and all of that, and has a healthy microbiome.
So I
Nothing extreme is
already know
good,
I
I
have
think.
an unhealthy one.
I'm sorry, what, Mary?
My microbiome, I had my testing done. I still have SIBO. And then I had my oral microbiome test, and that was the pits. I went, what? I don't understand. My teeth aren't bad. I don't have bleeding gums, but no, it was pits.
So I was at the A4M conference over the weekend, and SIBO was one of the main topics there. And, there was a specific discussion about how the oral cavity can be a primary source of gut dysbiosis and even SIBO. So we think about SIBO coming from the bottom up, but it can also be coming out, from the oral bacteria.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was going to talk or try to reach out to Debbie Osmond and see what she had to say about my mouth biome.
So do you feel better, Mary, after you started carnivore diet?
Yes, I have a lot of things that are healing. I still have issues with my intestines. I still have SIBO. I had, I don't know if I still have it or not, the H. pylori bacteria. I've been treating that. But other than that, I have hair, my skin is improved, my joints don't hurt as much. My neuropathy is improving. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
You look better. You look like you feel better.
I do feel better most days. You guys were discussing pork.
Yeah.
I was watching. Pork is one of the best meats to eat for vitamin B1.
Yeah. It's also good for copper.
Yes, also copper. So, but where do you guys buy your, you were talking about where you bought your pork? Because I haven't been able to find pork.
I get
here.
mine at the farmer's market. It sounds like Debbie gets hers from a farmer in Wyoming.
Yeah, not close to me at all. I'm in Texas. So, all right, I'll keep searching.
There ought to be some good local.
What?
I'm
There
sorry,
ought to be
my pork producer may ship. So
Oh, what's his name?
it's a her. Her name's Kareen. I can get the information and I'll post it on the group. Well, first I'll find out if she ships. But
Okay.
I have a lamb contact too out in Wyoming too.
But there's wild pastures from Paleo Valley.
Oh, sure, that's true.
That
Yeah,
that is so expensive, ladies. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, you didn't say expense was an issue. You
Yeah.
just
No,
wanted
you get
pork.
what you pay for when you buy meat, and so
That's what you pay for.
Yep.
But I think you can trust their sourcing, because they only work with regenerative farmers, and I mean, I guess you, at some point you have to be willing to pay for that, and it's obscene what you have to pay, but
It's worth it. You can pay now or you can pay later. I'd rather eat it than pay it
I
up.
can't say that it's worth it because I haven't actually ordered from them yet, but it sounds good. You know,
I'm only eating lamb and some beef right now because of the histamine issue. And that seems to be getting better also. I have histamine intolerance.
Yeah.
So that seems to be getting better also. I don't know that it's from carnivore. I think it's from intermittent fasting that I started this last week. So how did you guys like the book? Did y'all like the diet that he had in there? So,
Are you talking about bins or are you talking
I
about?
don't follow the diet. I just follow the opinions. I never followed anybody's diet. So
no, I was talking about the 30-day reset with keto.
Yeah.
oh,
I
okay.
felt like it was
We're gonna have to redo a call about that because we set a final call today, but we didn't send it out early enough, and so nobody showed up except Jen and me. So we had a very nice hour and a half long discussion of my A4M conference and a couple of other things.
Oh,
Yes.
So it was great, but
I still don't get notices. I'm still only being able to check up on Facebook. So that's the only.
so
You're not getting emails.
Mm-mm.
I think it's because they've scrubbed our list for
Mm.
people who are not opening the email. So like you may get an email, but if you don't actually click and open it, they're scrubbing names off of that because they think somebody's not looking at the information.
So I got the email yesterday, but I used to get reminders like an hour before the call. And I just received
Well,
it
and that's
yesterday.
probably partly just because I was traveling this weekend and I didn't get all the calls.
I didn't know
together.
it was a you thing. Okay.
I mean, I don't do it, but I sometimes remind the people to do it. So,
Okay.
and
Martha, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I
No,
didn't realize.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's hard to know when people are done talking. Didn't mean to interrupt. But now that I have, I want to get back to something that Mahala said before she left, about eating with joy. And I think she raises a very important point, but it's so much more complex than I think what she's alluding to. I mean, yes, you can approach eating your food with joy, but to tell you the truth, these days in the 21st century, I feel like acquiring food is a minefield and we're at war.
Yeah,
When
I don't disagree with you at all, Karen. The food supply, and if to go into a grocery store is like to be in the center of a war zone filled with weapons against your health.
Exactly. And even if you stay away from the center aisles, which is where all the processed food is, and Lord, sometimes I just cruise just to, see what I'm missing, but then I get out. But even when you're around, when you're in the outer perimeter where the fruits and the vegetables and the fresh food is, you still don't know, even if it's organic, are they covering it with that crap that now some idiot decided? Yeah, appeal. It's like, what the funnel cake? What is wrong with you people? So why are you doing that? Just give me fruit. Just give me what I asked for. And so you don't even know what's going on. And even if it's organic, you don't know if it's labeled correctly. The FDA is not on your side. This is very stressful. So and right now I am eating keto ice cream that I made in my Vitamix with chocolate chips and a magic shell that I made myself. So this is awesome. This I can eat with gratitude. But other stuff, it's like, what do you do when you can't trust the government? You can't trust the growers. I'm not gonna be a farmer. I'm not gonna be growing crap in my 12 by 17 front lawn. I barely have room for the flowers that are there. So I kind of need to go to the store, but going to the store is fraught with danger. So it's hard to feel grateful. You feel I mean, I'm grateful to have survived the trip to the store, but when it's time to eat, it's like, well, I hope this is what it says. I hope this is what people are saying it is.
What would be better is a positive affirmation that it is okay.
But
Because
but you don't know that.
Okay. But it's okay. God.
but it's okay.
Yeah, you just gotta say thank you and pray.
Because I think if you set in your mind this incredible doubt about your food, you know, it like, I don't know, words have power. I tell people that all the time. Do not realize how much words have power. And so, you know, just like, I now, like, sometimes before I eat, I'm like, just, hey, you know, thank you for this food. And if there's anything in there that my body doesn't need, you know, may the wisdom of my body just get rid of it.
What if your body doesn't know what it's doing out of bed?
What did you say, Karen?
I said, what if your body doesn't know what it's doing out of bed? It's all I can do to get dressed and like function. And then, I mean, come on. But I'm kidding. But, you know, yeah, I mean, I think, yes, there is something to be said. And I guess at some point you just have to step out on faith, which I have problems doing because I'm a very logical person. And to me, it's like facts matter. So show me the facts, and credibility, you know, arrives on foot and leaves on horseback. So it doesn't take much to, you know, destroy the credibility of these people, we don't know their motives. You know, there just seems to be such a focus on profit at any cost even from the healthy so-called food.
But I do think that having a positive mental mental mindset, despite all of this, you know, we can let them capture our mind and put us in that negative mindset, or we can hold our own mind captive to better thoughts, you know, despite what we're up against.
That's why I'm eating raspberry ice cream right now.
Well, good for you. So are you having joy?
Yes, it's making me very happy. It's awesome.
Okay. So we have Jon Sasmor.
Hi, Martha.
Hi, Jon. How are you?
I'm doing well. I enjoyed reading the book by Dr. Mercola. I have 3 comments about the dextrose, about the protein, and about one other aspect. So the dextrose, I took a different approach. I just introduced it as a food, and then I ate what seemed right. And I got into trouble at much lower amounts than Dr. Stevens says, and much lower amounts than what many people are taking. So 10 grams was a lot. I got a blood sugar measurement over 170. So I had to back off of it. But the point I wanted to make is that even a tiny amount of it really matters, because there's only 4 grams of glucose in the blood circulating. So if you top that up, even with a 1/4 teaspoon or less than that, it can make a big difference, and it can take away that crisis when the level drops and the body goes into the stress response. So what I found was that I did more of it in the 10 to 30 grams range for a while, but then I kept going at like 1 to 3 grams at a time, and then tapered off of that. And by the end of that, the starches started working better again. So I think there's something to what Mercola is saying here, that the dextrose is the first step, and then it's a gateway into his other options, which are really better because they're whole foods and they have the fiber and everything like that. So I wanted to say that to encourage other people to try the dextrose, even just a little bit, even if the small amounts, even if the larger amounts seem crazy, because it really is a relief to get that fuel, and it's a transition into the higher carbs that Mercola is talking about.
Interesting information, Jon. You know, and it's interesting for me because a couple of times I was starting the Steven's stuff, and I would back off, and I would back off to a much smaller amount. And I definitely notice a difference in like brain power or horsepower, you know, even with a small amount of it. So what you're saying makes sense to me, you know, that if there's 4 grams in the blood and I'm a little bit low, even a quarter teaspoon that can go directly into the blood is going to kind of fill that back up.
Yeah, it's really amazing the effect of it.
And I think he said in his book, like if you were having trouble with your memory, that if you just took a teaspoon of it, you would in 30 seconds remember whatever it is you weren't able to remember, which tells you your brain is not getting enough glucose.
Yeah. And that starch is sort of the nature's time release dextrose. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So the protein thing, Dr. Mercola is emphasizing that 30% of the protein in the traditional diet came from collagen. And so I've been trying that with the bone broth powder and with the gelatin. And the gelatin seems to work a little better because I get some histamine with the bone broth powder. But the gelatin is great. I make the gel. You can add all sorts of stuff to it, but I've just been making it with water. And I've been getting probably 30 grams a day on average of protein from the gelatin. But it's like a completely different food, a completely different category, because the amino acid composition is so different. And Mercola is talking about how it doesn't have tryptophan, so that can reduce excess of serotonin, which is mainly in the gut. But it really has a very different amino acid profile. It really is like a completely different food. So when we're eating animal protein, like I used to until a month or 2 ago, and it's all muscle meat or fish, then that's really not what our ancestors were eating. They were eating a different balance of amino acids. And of course, that's going to affect the gut microbes a lot. It's going to affect the whole body. It's going to affect all the neurotransmitters that are in the gut. And I think that's been a profound difference. I'm probably eating half as much muscle meat as before. Now I just don't want it.
Wonder about making like the gelatin with, let's say, make gelatin with one of the fermented juices.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Because I think there was somebody who made, they called them like sort of like homemade gummies or whatever, but like you could make the gelatin and do the fermented juice with it. So you'll get the microbes, you'll get, you know, and you know, you might get a little sweetness, maybe even put a little dextrose in with it. So it's like a little bit of a, you know, a Jello or a gummy, but you're getting that gelatin also. So that's an idea. I think I'll try that this week.
Yeah, what kind of microbes would like grow?
The heat will not destroy it, Martha?
Well, you just wouldn't add it until it had cooled down. I mean, because it's not going to gel until it really gets to a cooler temperature. So you could just do it like, you know, people who preheat their milk, you know, they have to wait for it to drop to a certain temperature. You would just wait for it to drop to a certain temperature. I do have a funny yogurt story, though, from somebody who gave me a bad review and asked for their money back because they were trying the yogurt starter. And you know, my customer service had been kind of going back and forth with them. He finally sent them to me and they were already like too far gone. And so I had a phone call and I said, well, you know, can you tell me what you know, and she said, well, I've been making yogurt for years and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I heat the milk to 180 degrees and I cool it to 120 and then I put the culture in. And I was like, well, there's your problem right there. You just killed the bugs. So I don't know what starter culture is working at 120 degrees, but anyway. And I think
this is how you make Bulgarian yogurt. You cool it to 116 actually, and then you make Bulgarian yogurt. But
okay,
that's a different bacteria.
Yeah.
Which microbes would like to grow in gelatin?
You know, I would say probably most microbes would like gelatin.
I'll have to try it with the sugar shift.
Well, also they're already fermented, right? So we're talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah, there. So if
adding
you're
the microbes,
gonna,
not
like,
fermenting them.
yeah, so I wouldn't, you know, wouldn't necessarily be a fermentation. Like I would take probably, I have a tart cherry kefir that I have made from the, you know, the Cultured Food Life or Cutting Edge Cultures, and I would probably just mix that in with the gelatin, and then
So
let it.
what gelatin, John, are you using? What kind of gelatin?
The one I'm using is Perfect Supplements bovine gelatin. And I asked them about it. They say the cows are organically raised, but they range over a very large area, so they don't get it certified because it would get very expensive to certify such a large area. But
Yeah.
it is all organic, and they test it for glyphosate.
Again, what is the name? Sorry.
Perfect Supplements.
Perfect Supplements. Thank you.
Bovine gelatin. There's another one called Great Lakes that I tried when I ran out of that one, and it was all right, but I like the Perfect one better.
And I think you said you had one other thing, John. You said the
So
protein.
Dr. Mercola says sitting is the next smoking. And this actually made a big impression on me because I don't know, I was probably sitting 8 or 9 hours a day, and I can feel the effect on circulation after a while. So I made a sort of makeshift standing desk just with cardboard boxes. And it's made a big difference that I can use the computer standing up. I really notice sitting. It feels like I get uncomfortable just sitting for half an hour. Sitting any longer than eating a meal is too long. So I think he might be onto something. I think that there's some kind of energy and flow and circulation that comes from not sitting still for too long. And I guess our ancestors probably wouldn't have sat still so much. So anyway, that was another part of the book that made a big impression on me.
I think
Dr.
that's.
David does it.
I think that's. If you think about like the flow in your blood vessels, and that, you know, when you're standing up, you know, it's kind of a straight shot. But if you're sitting down all the time, there's a lot of turns and pinch spots and all of that, that just the whole pumping part of the blood flow is probably different too. I do try to, I put my computer on my kitchen countertop part of the time, so I move back and forth. Like most of today, I was over higher up and either, you know, standing. But yeah, I think that is also a great point from the book. So thank you for sharing that. It looks like Chris has her hand up again.
Yeah,
Was
I
that
just had
you, John?
really
Yeah.
quick. I was going to ask. Oh, John, you're finished?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
John, I've got a question for you. Okay, who's got too much serotonin? You talked about serotonin overload. So what did he say about tryptophan? And
Well, Dr. Mercola, following on Ray Peat, thinks that most people have too much serotonin. And that I don't really remember too much of the details. But the theory is that actually we're overloaded with serotonin and we've tuned down our receptors because we're overwhelmed with the stuff. So that tryptophan is the precursor of serotonin.
right.
And so maybe part of the reason that we're overloaded with it, if it's like he says, is that the muscle meats have more tryptophan.
I'm going to say I probably disagree with that because glyphosate breaks the shikimate pathway, and that is where tryptophan, tyrosine, and phenylalanine are produced. And so while that may have been true, 50 years ago, I don't know. I'm not sure it's true now because the microbes make those amino acids and those amino acids are made in plants. But when they are disrupted by glyphosate, they are, those pathways are not working properly.
Okay, yeah, that really stuck out to me because I think I'm a person who tends to be low on serotonin, and I work around in different ways to balance that. And next time we all meet, I'll come back and talk about the tryptophan depletion studies that were that came about. I've got to reacquaint myself with that information, but yeah, I'll go to my book though and look that up because I'm interested in what he has to say about it. I've never read anything that came from an overload point of view on serotonin. Always from information I've gotten, it has been, especially in mental health reading, readings that I do and studies on mental health. I'll come back and report something about that. Thanks for bringing that up, John. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
The other amino acid is methionine that's also lower in collagen, although it does have some. But that's another benefit that he presents is that it's lower methionine, which is supposed to have benefits for longevity.
I agree with that because there's actually, in Parkinson's, there's a methionine salvage pathway that's upregulated in the microbiome, and there are these particular pathogens that are scavenging methionine. So I think lower methionine would be beneficial there. And I'm going to toss out one tidbit here from this, the biology of human starvation and the Minnesota starvation study, where it was talking about intellectual function and the B vitamin deficiency. And it said acute dietary deprivation of B complex vitamins for just only 23 days. Oh, John, I think I'm going to have to mute you. Let me mute him. Okay. For just 23 days resulted in deterioration in 2 out of the 6 intellectual tests. Just 23 days, lack of B vitamins. And
Yeah.
then it goes on, and I think this is a veiled lie. Because it says there is little doubt that definite prolonged vitamin deficiencies, particularly when thiamine and niacin are involved, will eventually result in mental deterioration. Several 1943 pointed out disturbances of memory, clouding of consciousness, and disorientation as symptoms occurring in the advanced stage of B vitamin complex deficiency. Here's where I think it's a lie, or a veiled lie. As far as we are aware, the deterioration and the mental effects of treatment were not studied quantitatively in this research. So, and if you see how much data they had in here.
So Martha, you cut out right at the beginning. Say your last 2 sentences, the one that you read out of the book, I think.
There's little doubt that definite prolonged vitamin deficiencies, particularly when thiamine and niacin are involved, will eventually result in mental deterioration. I also find that interesting because of the Italian doctor who is treating people with Parkinson's with thiamine.
Yes. Okay. So he's saying there's little research that supports the importance of the B.
No, he says there's little doubt, but then he says, as far as we're aware, it's not been studied quantitatively. And I'm like, you're lying, because anytime you qualify something as far as we're aware, you're basically putting in plausible deniability.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And
the B1, and it's the B vitamins are just major in functional integrative psychiatry. They're where we start. And also that's where the gene SNPs, the MTHFR that interfere with folate and B12 come in, that are so influencing of brain health. So yeah, interesting.
So
Okay.
anyway, this is the volumes of the two books. The first volume, I didn't realize the first volume is actually maybe more distressing than the study, because it's the fact that all this data was collected in other starvation situations, like
Concentration camp.
concentration camps, the hunger winter, Ukraine during the Holodomor. It's like, okay, you're starving people to death and you're measuring it for science. And and they had all this data about all these famines, and they never once mentioned the Irish famine that was caused by the British on purpose, taking the food away. So anyway, it just makes me, just sort of makes you continue to think about the bias of the research and the truthfulness of what all they're telling you. But the fact that they had, data from these prisons and concentration, it's, it's just
Unsettling.
it's disturbing. And
It is.
and it really, it's going to take me a while to wade through it, because it's like 2,000 pages of stuff, and I'm already reading a couple of other 2-volume sets that are about 2,000 pages. So neither of which we will be doing in book club. But
Martha, do you ever read just like a good romance novel or something? Or I mean, the fact that you're reading this stuff for recreation, I'm worried about you. I'm just saying.
I will occasionally read a good novel. But
what? Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, just for yucks?
no, I'm trying to think. What was the last good?
So Martha, is Ansel Keys right on the cover of the book?
Right on the cover. Bad guy number 1.
Yeah. Interesting.
He was the really bad guy. But what about all these people who still insist that he was right? It just irritates me so much.
Yeah.
And I'm studying on the thiamine and all that stuff. And these studies have been around since the 1800s, and they still refuse to say there's any data to do any.
So they break it down. So the volume 2 is psychology, which is psychological problems of starvation. And they talk about and some of the food behavioral problems, I think, are like food behaviors we see today in the population. And so that, again, to me, goes back to, are we a population that is micronutrient starved? Behavior and complaints, let's see. Also through the rehab period, so as they started to refeed them, they had different groups that they refed at different increasing calorie amounts, and they tracked all these different behaviors and what it did to them, how it changed, the intellectual capacity, the personality. They went into some detailed psychological case studies. They had one guy, was interesting. He kept a diary, and he was a pretty intelligent guy. And, he kept pretty detailed notes about how he was feeling and but it also feminized the men, and it made them lose interest in sex. So lowered the sex drive, which we seem to have some issues with that these days. And then, so special problems were edema. So they talked about this weight gain from fluid, which, you know, that's inflammation too. Anorexia. So I wonder if I haven't gotten to that one yet. Effects on growth and development, and also tuberculosis. They have a whole chapter on tuberculosis because the malnutrition. So there's some, you know, you have nutritional immunity that keeps these bugs in check. And so if you don't have adequate nutrition, your immune system can't work properly to keep these bugs in check. Diabetes and undernutrition. I haven't gotten to that chapter yet, but let's see what that, you know, and if you just think about like what's going on generally with diabetics, you know, maybe they're malnourished.
Mm-hmm. They put so many diabetics on those GLPs, and that makes them malnourished because they can't eat. It's very sad.
Yeah. You know, we're in a mill of a hiss.
No.
I don't like this. Looks like it's going to take a while to read that, but so Pam, who is sometimes on here, she had somebody she was working with who has blood sugar issues and was taking sugar shift and working great for him, ran out of it. Blood sugar was kind of creeping back up. He got it back in, working again, doing great. But then he took shot each of the 2 different beam minerals, and his blood sugar shot up. And so we're kind of going through a process of trying to figure out, okay, what happened there? But to me, that seems like, okay, the body's going, ooh, there's nutrients. Let's pump up the glucose and get this stuff into the cells. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on that, but that to me seemed like, you know, the body being excited that there was, you know, some nutrients to work with. Mary?
Oh, God.
Now that you brought up the bean minerals, I was thinking about purchasing them and then going, it's like, what, $80 a month or something like that? Are there any other products is anyone else using the bean products, or have you found a different? I found a different one, but
I'm using them. Chris?
I'm using them. I think they're helping.
You think they're helping?
Karen? What do you think, Karen?
Oh, you know, I've flirted with buying bean, but I haven't actually bought it yet. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that I have noticed a difference, and I think, I mean, I've lost a little bit of weight, and I don't know if that's, I've gotten better at taking my sugar shift, and I'm taking the beam every day. And I did do the 30-day reset, but like I told Jen, I was traveling over the weekend, and basically I did not finish strong.
I purchased this product that's called fulvic and humic acid. And I'm thinking, why is Beam shipping around all those bottles of water? I mean, this is a concentrated form. I only take 5 drops a day. I don't know. I haven't noticed that much difference. I don't know, but it seems
there is a difference, and they explain it in the suspension in the liquid, but I don't remember enough of the details to give that to you, I'm afraid.
Mary, which one is that?
I bought it, I don't know, don't hit me on the head, guys. I bought it off of Amazon. It's by Immune.
So I don't know. I do know that they made it.
And it's humic acid it's ionic trace minerals.
So one of the things that Caroline emphasized was they don't call theirs humic acid or fulvic acid. It is humic minerals and fulvic minerals, and there is a difference. But I will have to research the difference.
Okay.
And so my guess is it is would somehow have to do with the pH, but I don't know, or the method of, because some I know some of the fulvic minerals are produced versus extracted from underground sources.
No, this is an extraction from underground sources.
Okay.
I did the research on that. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So, I mean, maybe that's great, and you only need a few drops. And
Yeah, it's got 300 and some.
Zach Bush has one called the Ion. I can't remember if his is a combination of humic and fulvic, or if it's just fulvic, or if it's just humic, but you take his right before you eat. And, the problem I had with that is, like, I could never remember to take it before I ate, or, tell John to take it before he ate. But, and I think he describes it as closing off the tight junctions before you eat.
Oh, I don't know.
And his is a, he has it in a smaller bottle, but I would say the price per ounce is about the same.
This was less than 20, and it has 240 servings.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Maybe it's great.
The trace, how much do we need as a trace, right? Not much, right? So that's what I went with. I was already spending too much money on other supplements. Gosh, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
I'm trying to just eat meat. Oh, you guys asked me about carnivore diet benefits. I've seen a big improvement in my vision. I have less light sensitivity when I go outside in the middle of the day without sunglasses. It doesn't bother me. Now I can't drive into the sun with sunglasses, but going outside, I don't.
This is a reminder to put on my glasses for the blue lights.
Put on blue lights. Also, my
This is a reminder.
hearing. I don't have as much sound sensitivity either. So things are improving on the carnivore diet.
That's good.
Yeah, that's great. Good for you, Mary.
And it's so simple. Just cook meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to try John's gelatin, but now I don't know what I.
Martha, I have a
But
question.
didn't John say he has a histamine issue? Can he tolerate fermented foods? I can't. The histamine
I can do fermented foods sometimes a little bit. The histamines that I had was with the bone broth powder. So
Well,
that definitely flared up the histamines.
That's because
for
you have
some reason the gelatin
bucket.
is better.
Yeah.
That's
If your
because
bucket's full. Yeah, it's a bucket. Like they call it a bucket. Your body can hold so many histamines and it doesn't bother you. But once you fill it up and go over, that's when you start having symptoms.
So you can take DAO, which is a diamine oxidase, which is a histamine breaking down enzyme. And that's actually a copper dependent enzyme.
It's hard. I have one of them. I just ordered a different one to see if it works any better. They really need to be in one of those capsules. What do you call it when it goes through your stomach without breaking down?
Oh, gotcha. Enteric coated.
But I haven't been able to find an enteric coated one because your stomach starts to digest the enzyme when you take it. So, yeah, but I take that every day. Every meal I have to take it. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we've run past our time. Does anybody else have a question or any burning thing that must be answered tonight?
Have we ever not run past our time? That's my
Very
question.
quick question, Martha, if you don't mind. Maybe if you keep the blood and then taste it for blood glucose, for example, after a couple of days, you test it after a couple of days, is there going to be any difference? I mean, blood is
Good.
sitting. Yeah.
I'm sure there would be, because a lot of the blood testing glucose, I think they're testing glucose oxidase. So I'm sure, like, everything degrades over time. So I don't think you could take a tube of blood and wait a couple of days.
Don't they
Yeah,
take a couple of tubes and they say they're good for 5 days?
Yeah, I mean, I donate to Red Cross. They're immediately, and I donate blood all the time. They're immediately refrigerated. Like everything's refrigerated, like all around the room, everything's refrigerated.
Right.
But they have different testing techniques than we have.
Yeah,
Like for the
but
strips.
blood that you're donating, they put osmoprotectant in. There's a whole lot of steps they go through with donated blood.
And
Oh.
tubes of blood when they collect it at the laboratories, they have chemicals in there also for the blood.
Oh,
So,
so
yeah.
maybe it will not make a difference.
Well, why were you wanting to save your blood and test it 2 days later?
I believe I went for a test on Friday and the results came up on Monday. Maybe they were not, maybe they tested it, but didn't put it on the page. I don't know. But I was wondering if it's possible even.
Well, if you had blood drawn, they put whatever kind of preservative in it they're supposed to. But there are some blood tests that if you don't get the test done and get it to the testing, like if you're having it drawn at one location and the test is done somewhere else, I can't remember which one it is, but it might be one of the it might be vitamin A, or there's a couple of tests where if it doesn't get done right away, it is not, you basically get back a failed result.
Right.
Well, let's hope they know what they're talking about.
Debbie, didn't you have your hand up? Did you want to ask something?
Oh no, I just wanted to tell Karen how much I'm loving that granola. So I made a double batch and I ate a cup every day and I still lost 5 pounds on this.
Shut up.
Yeah, no, a cup a day. And then I used it with different kinds of granola. God, I just loved it. Yeah,
Oh,
so I'm going to make
cool.
another batch.
Yay.
Okay, tell me that recipe
Granola
again. I
with-
forget.
Granola
Yeah,
with
what's the
grains?
recipe?
Oh, why don't I just put it in an email and send it to you, Martha? And then
Okay.
and then you can send it
I'll
out.
post it on the page, or yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can post it on the page. So I'll do that, God willing, on the creek don't rise. Hopefully my memory will help me remember to do
Have
that.
some
Unless
dextrose, it'll help your memory.
yeah, I just need to mainline some sugar, then I'll be fine. So
Talking about recipes,
Don't do
Martha,
it.
can you
Don't.
give us the recipe of the beets?
Oh, the kvass?
Yeah, that's not
You
everybody.
were making something with beets, and that sounded great, and I forgot where I put the recipe.
I make beet kvass.
Yeah, probably this is what it is. It's a drink that you drink every morning.
Oh yeah. That's really easy. That's just cut up a beet or two and stick it in a quart jar with a quarter cup of whey and a tablespoon of mineral salt, and fill it with distilled water or RO water.
And
Set it on the counter for 3 days and then stick it in the refrigerator.
and
In
what kind of what did you say? You put the whey from the yogurts, or what do you do?
Yep.
Yeah.
Whey from the yogurt. Look at
Okay.
that. Isn't that
That's
beautiful?
fantastic. That's very. So
And
looks
that
very
helps to make
delicious.
nitric oxide
Okay, I'm gonna
for your
try
blood
this.
vessels. I
Thank you.
love it. I mean, I love it. And actually, I've started. This is my weird test because we need nitric oxide for healthy blood vessels and stuff. And so, and part of we're losing our oral bacteria that are those nitrate reducing bacteria. So after I brush my teeth at night, I think you asked me about this, Paula. I take a shot of it and swish it around in my mouth so that those bacteria are in there when I go to bed at night.
Thank you.
So I don't know if but that's my latest trick. Okay,
So
well,
Martha, before you go, when are you going to do the catch up 30-day reset call again? Is that next Tuesday?
well, I tried to do it today, but we didn't send out the notice early enough, so it was just
Right.
Deb or Jen and me. So I'm thinking, well, I don't know. Do you think next week? Because we have a sugar Shift challenge call, but Debbie Osmond is talking at that. But we could do the 30-day reset after Debbie finishes, or we could start early and talk about the 30-day reset and then go into Debbie's talk. What do you think?
I can't do early. I need to start at like the 5 o'clock Central, which is 6 Eastern for you, works great for me. But earlier I can't do it.
Okay.
I think I'm more flexible. I think the last call we had was like at 2:30, and because I knew
Yeah,
about
so the one we did today was at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, because this is kind of an off
So
the
the
regular schedule
sugar,
thing.
sugar shift is next week?
Sugar Shift is next week, and that's Debbie Osmond.
Oh, okay.
So
And
we
then
probably
I could always write mine up. So
I definitely want to be part of the call because I want to share. I do have some definite thoughts on the 30-day / Karen's version, which was 24.5-day reset. So I just, because my family came in town and,
Yeah,
and
mine was
everything
about
went off.
mine was about a 25-day reset.
Right.
Yeah, I think I did lose some weight, but
Yeah, me too.
or my pants are definitely, not as tight as they were. So
And my knees don't hurt the way they used to either. It's bizarro world. It's very weird.
I haven't.
So I think there's definitely some great benefits to this. But I do think like what Jen was sharing on the changes in metabolism. So I would like to have time for a call that, we can talk about some of that, and, maybe Jen can share some of her data. So, I'll try to figure that out.
Okay. And Jen, just FYI, Jen asked me to send the recipe to her and then she'll send it out to everyone. So I'm going to send her the recipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to redo the chronometer nutrition facts and make it a PDF that we can all share.
Cool.
And then with the chronometer, I know I invited everybody who was doing the reset to chronometer. What I didn't know was that I would be charged for everybody, whether they used it or not.
Oh, no.
So now that the 30 days have ended, I've deleted your membership if you didn't use it. So
I did
if
not. I didn't.
there's anyone who wants it back, let's discuss. Please email me.
I found it interesting and useful, but because I cook so many of my own meals, it's pretty time consuming to put every one of those recipes in there.
Oh, it's soul sucking. Yeah, I
And
hate
so
tracking.
I was like, I stopped using it after the first week, but it was good for me initially to get an understanding of like what was in those recipes and like how much calorie or not, what was the calorie and nutrient content. And it was good for me in the context of this starvation study to understand the micronutrient problems. And I actually think probably a lot of these tools do not have the appropriate micronutrients in there, and they probably have numbers that are way too high from what our food really is.
Dr. Mercola was actually a developer of chronometer, and that was initially why I chose it. So I think it's better than most.
Well, that's good. I know the guys from HRI are starting a project to do nutrient testing in food.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how far they've gotten on that, but
I mean, every time I turn around, Consumer Labs they're issuing reports saying, the stuff that they said was in there, that stuff's not in there. Or the stuff that they said wasn't in there, well, actually that's in there. So they just did that about magnesium supplements not too long ago, and protein bars. They just whipped them up 21 ways from Sunday. The protein is like, yeah, just forget about it.
Yeah.
Well, let's just eat John's gelatin snacks.
Okay.
There you go.
But there's no muscle protein synthesis. Let's remember that.
Okay. So that's where the granola comes in.
With what? Collagen?
With
Or no?
collagen or bone broth. I mean, collagen and bone broth are sort of synonymous, but yeah. Yeah, you need the full amino acids. You need the essential amino acids for if we're talking about muscle protein synthesis. So I love collagen and I think it's great. I'm not poo-pooing it, but
Well,
it's not the same.
So, I know we're done for the night, but there
Yeah,
is
sorry.
somewhere in here
Can of
where
worms there.
Mercola talks about muscle and the carbohydrates.
Mhm.
I just don't remember, but I
He
thought
says
that was
that actually you can substitute protein with carbs.
well. He said something about carbohydrates supporting muscle mass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of taking protein, you can take carbs.
Yeah. So when I was reading that, I was thinking about you, Jen, saying how difficult your workouts were with, on the 30-day reset. So I don't know. I'll have to go. Like, I have so many notes in this book. I'll never be able to sort through. I need to screenshot all the pages and send it to Chat GPT and tell it to organize and give me my list.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have 2 words for you, Martha.
What?
Rom-com. Rom-com.
Okay, you sent me a recommendation for a nice romantic comedy, and I'll
I don't read that crap, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I do. I am watching Outlander on Netflix.
Aw.
I'm watching 90 Day Fiance UK, so do the math.
All right, well, you guys, great to see you.
See you next week.
We had a few people who read the book, and if you have a recommendation for the next book, let me know. I know I have some books around here that I could consider, but I'd love to have some recommendations, because I don't think we want another third diet choice.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go back. Oh, back. Well, next time.
Well, I was thinking maybe something on our mental frame, sort of keeping that positive attitude in this crazy world we're living in. So I'm going to look for something on the power of positive thinking or something.
I
Everybody read
do.
Biology of Belief.
Oh, that's a good
Have
one.
2 dogs. If you
Which
have 2
one?
dogs,
Biology of Belief.
Biology of
Well,
Belief.
biology of belief is kind of technical, though.
Mhm.
It's kind of a scientifically technical book.
And you think it's beyond us?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying not everybody wants to read another scientifically technical book.
don't read anything. Just have a couple of dogs around you.
And like, the more scientifically technical book I choose, the less people read it. Is what I find. So
Martha, there's this book called The Joy of Well-Being. Actually, Jen recommended it to me, and I haven't finished it, but that might be a possibility. The Joy of Well-Being, a practical guide to a happy, healthy, and long life. Remember that book, Jen? I know you recommended
you're
it to
muted,
me.
Jen.
There we go. Okay. That would be a good one if we want to go positive mindset. And I was also thinking of From Strength to Strength, which is a book I've just started that it's fascinating of how we stay relevant as we age, from strength to strength. So he discusses ideas around what, synthesizing what we used to be experts in and how to move that forward instead of becoming less relevant in the fast-paced, and more, not so much business, but I think that's where he's coming from, but it's relevant to all of us. I don't know if anyone's heard of it or read it, but it's very, very good and well written.
What's it called
From
again,
strength to
Jan?
strength.
From Strength to
From
Strength.
Strength to Strength. That's a great title.
And who is The Joy of Well-Being by?
That's by actually the finders of Mind Green, Pauline and Joseph Wacob, or Wachob, B as in boy. They co-founded Mind Body Green.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, no, these are good things to send my husband to get him reading, because he's in Wyoming, I'm in Illinois. I want to keep him busy.
Oh, yeah.
There's also I don't know, this might be too much, but this is an interesting Ayurvedic based book, Food is Medicine.
Oh, okay. And who is that by?
Todd Caldecott.
Can we talk about stem cell research someday?
We can. I'm not much of an expert on that, but we can. And I actually, one of my research friends is doing work with something called mu cells. And the mu cells, like they showed in neurons, the mu cells would eat up like autophagy of the damaged neuron,
Yeah.
digest it, and then grow a new neuron.
Can you invite this friend for a talk, or?
I can see if he would come.
That
Okay.
would be fascinating. I love that.
Yeah, it will be fantastic. This is the future.
I'll just say for the record, I miss the days of the Joseph Mercola who wrote Fat for Fuel. That totally made sense to me. I love that book. But of course, he's completely repudiated everything he ever wrote in that book. So there you go.
Well, you know what, though? Fat is great fuel. Fat is great fuel. And down through the ages, if you look at the Eskimos, they lived off fat and blubber. But, okay. But
he doesn't read the book. You'll see he's about fat too, but different fat, from butter, from ghee, from not from oils. This is what he's saying. This is the main idea. But he's not against fat at all. Not at all.
I know, Paola. I was engaging in hyperbole. To
now we're going far afield again, but
I think he still supports all the same fats, just only as 30 to 40% of your calories.
Yeah, and Fat for Fuel is like 60 to 70, and that made me feel yummy. That was awesome. I'm like, pile it on. That's why I had ice cream. It was mostly fat.
Well, I think this is, Martha's philosophy. Our ancestry comes from different places. And ancestrally, what were we eating? What were our ancestors eating? Now we
probably weren't eating ice cream.
But now we have Eskimos that were giving processed carbohydrates, and they got health problems. And everybody's eating the same diet instead of like eating culturally what our families ate and what our genes evolved with over the years. Like I did as I started to think about that as a kind of a philosophy of eating, sorry, I'm just looking out there and I swear it looks like the leaves are changing color, and that is way too early. That, you know, I was thinking about John, and like John's ancestors came from Ireland. Well, okay, Ireland has the bogs. That's where his family was. And, you know, they have that dense peat that has a lot of humic, fulvic, very dense mineral content in the water. So I was like, you know, so probably that, and they probably ate a lot of fish because they were right on the coast, and lamb, and not a lot of other, you know, and probably potatoes. So those kind of starches, but not all this other garbo.
So probably given
sure,
where my
no broccoli.
ancestors came from, Martha, I maybe should not eat so much ice cream. They probably weren't eating it. They probably didn't start out with ice cream.
Well, I mean, I don't like
in the African continent, you know, where it was hot. They probably didn't have ice cream.
No, but they
didn't have
probably did
ice
have
cream.
dairy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but
probably
not
did
ice
have
cream,
dairy.
which is what I really want.
Yeah. But I think we adapt to our environment. So I
Yeah.
think there's a seasonal and more like, you know, if you live in Wisconsin, but you're eating as they do in Costa Rica, which I could easily do if I didn't try not to. I could eat avocados and chocolate and, you know, mango and just I love tropical things. I start, you know, my day with coffee, for goodness sake. I could eat Costa Rica here, but I think I would be colder. I think it would, my body can't, you know, and shouldn't eat tropically when I don't live in the tropics. I could adapt to the tropics very readily, or I could adapt to Alaska if I live there, because I think we, you know, our cells, we are so adaptable, but we have to match that with what we take in.
I want
So I think
Paula's ice cream bar.
they have those at Kroger.
They're
Those are
very
those are
nice.
yummy.
Those are yummy, and they have no sugar. They
Yep.
have something, cellulose or something.
I'm guilty of buying those.
They're delicious and no aftertaste because.
Which one do you have? The chocolate?
Well, let me show. No, I don't like the chocolate. It's called caramel or whatever, but doesn't have caramel. It's white and chocolatey outside with peanuts or something, probably. It's
And the
great.
sweetener is, what is the
I
sweetener?
don't disagree, Jen, that we're adaptable, but I do not think that we should be eating, you know, stuff from the tropics when we're in Wisconsin.
I know.
Because
I know.
food is information, and and
Yeah.
it should be information from your environment that's telling your body about where you are and what's going on.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so our bodies are confused now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
connecting back to ancestry, that's easier for some people than others. I don't know where my ancestors came from. I mean, except on slave ships, I don't know what country they came from. In Africa, it's the largest continent on earth. So
Yeah.
it could be as far north as Egypt.
be
It could be
far
as far
north
south as
and-
South Africa. It could be
Yeah.
above the equator, below the equator. I don't know.
Which would be a very different dietary profile in any of those places.
Exactly. But without knowing, I don't have that information. I can only go based on what I'm eating here in the United States. I mean, at some
23andMe,
point,
but they don't exist anymore. I mean, they
What?
tell you, like, if you do the test 23andMe,
yeah, I'm not doing that because they have
yeah,
data
I
issues.
don't believe they exist anymore.
They don't.
But yeah, but they tell you exactly where you're coming from. Very
Yeah,
precisely.
but the data issues are profound, which is why they don't exist anymore. And there's fraud and the whole American Greed episode about 23andMe. But even other companies like Ancestry, like Ancestry.com or other companies do this sort of thing, but I don't trust them with my data, frankly.
No, you shouldn't.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to wrap it up again. Maybe.
We're never going to leave you, Martha. We're going to be with you
Oh,
forever.
stay with me forever. I am going to go out and get the last bit of sunlight. The sun is about to set. So I'm going to get my evening sunlight and maybe go to bed early.
Nice.
Oh,
Good to
thank
see
you,
you.
Martha. Thank you,
All
everybody.
right.
Thank you,
send out
everybody.
a 30-day wrap next
Thank
week.
you.
Thanks,
Great.
Martha. Great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Good night, guys.